People say revenge is ugly. Maybe they've never had their heart torn out and gift-wrapped by their best friend. I stood at the back of the grand ballroom, clipboard in hand, watching Lauren float down the aisle in her custom Vera Wang. The guests murmured their approval, cameras flashed, and Daniel waited at the altar with that same half-smile I once thought was meant only for me. None of them knew what was coming. Not even Lauren, who'd spent months approving every detail of this wedding without realizing she was orchestrating her own downfall. My name is Sarah Bennett, and this is how I turned betrayal into the most beautiful revenge Chicago's elite had ever witnessed. I used to be the girl who cried at rom-coms and kept friendship bracelets from middle school. The one who remembered everyone's birthdays and baked cookies when friends had bad days. I believed in forever, both in love and friendship. Lauren and I met as college roommates at Northwestern. She was everything I wasn't. Bold, effortlessly stylish, with a laugh that commanded attention. Where I planned, she improvised. Where I hesitated, she leapt. We balanced each other perfectly. "We're going to take over this city together," she'd declare, arms slung around my shoulders as we walked along Lake Michigan, dreaming of our futures. I met Daniel at Lauren's 25th birthday party. He was her cousin's friend. Tall, with thoughtful eyes and a quiet confidence that made you lean in to hear what he had to say. "You two would be perfect together," Lauren had insisted, practically shoving us toward each other. Later, she'd take credit for our relationship, calling herself Cupid in Louboutins. When Daniel proposed after 3 years, Lauren squealed louder than I did. She insisted on being my maid of honor and business partner in the wedding planning company I dreamed of starting. Velvet Vows Events, we christened it, toasting with champagne in my tiny apartment. "To making other people's dreams come true," I'd said. "And getting filthy rich doing it," Lauren had added with a wink. I didn't notice how she'd watch Daniel when she thought no one was looking. I didn't see how she'd touch his arm a second too long when passing him a drink. I was too busy trusting, planning, believing. Too busy being the person they knew they could betray. It was a Friday in November. Daniel had cancelled our dinner plans, claiming a client emergency. I decided to surprise him anyway. Thai food from his favorite place, a bottle of that Cabernet he loved. I still remember the weight of the takeout bag in one hand, wine in the other, as I used my key to his condo. The sound of laughter drifting from the bedroom stopped me cold. Her laughter. I knew it instantly. My heels sank into the plush carpet as I moved silently down the hallway. The bedroom door was cracked open, light spilling out. I didn't need to push it further. Could see enough. Lauren's red dress crumpled on the floor. Daniel's watch, the one I'd given him for our anniversary, on the nightstand. I must have made a sound. They both looked up, and for one suspended moment, we all just stared at each other. Lauren recovered first. She didn't scramble to cover herself or even look ashamed. Instead, she sat up slowly, sheet barely covering her, and said the words that would echo in my mind for years. "You were never his type anyway, Sarah." Daniel at least had the decency to look horrified. "Sarah, I can explain." "How long?" My voice sounded strange, like it belonged to someone else. "Does it matter?" Lauren asked, reaching for her dress. 6 months, Daniel admitted quietly. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Of planning our wedding while he was sleeping with my best friend. I set the food and wine down carefully on his dresser. "I hope you enjoy dinner," I said, surprising myself with how steady I sounded. Then I took off my engagement ring and placed it beside the wine. I walked out without another word, drove home in a daze, and spent the night staring at the ceiling, too numb even for tears. The next morning I discovered the second betrayal. Our business account emptied. The client contracts gone. Our website redirected to Pierce Weddings, featuring Lauren's face and a sleek new logo. When I called her, shaking with rage, she answered on the first ring. "It's just business, Sarah. You were always too soft for this industry anyway. Daniel and I have a vision. We're going to take Pierce Weddings national. You can't just steal our clients our money." "Actually, I can. Check the partnership agreement. Majority control in case of dissolution." You signed it, remember? I had, trusting her completely. When Daniel called later that day, his voice was all practiced concern. Lauren says you're upset about the business. Look, I never meant to hurt you, but sometimes people just connect differently. Lauren understands my vision better. For life, for everything. I hung up without responding. That night, I deleted my social media, packed 2 suitcases, and booked a one-way ticket to New York. As the plane took off, I whispered to myself. They took my heart, my name, and my dream. But I wasn't done writing my story. New York embraced me with indifferent arms. Exactly what I needed. No sympathy, no space for weakness. Just opportunity for those willing to work harder than everyone else. I rented a shoebox apartment in Brooklyn and took an entry-level position at Platinum Veil, one of the city's premier wedding planning firms. My boss, Vivian, was a 60-something former fashion executive with a cigarette voice and eyes that missed nothing. You have talent, she told me after my 3rd month. But talent is common. What's your edge? I didn't have an answer then. But I would. I worked 18-hour days, absorbed everything. While my colleagues complained about demanding clients, I volunteered for the most difficult ones. When others left at 6, I stayed until midnight learning the financial side of the business, the part Lauren had always handled. Never let someone else control your money, Vivian advised, teaching me about contracts, investments, and leverage. In business and in life. At night, I'd check Lauren's Instagram. Pierce Weddings had a flashy launch, with Daniel as the smiling co-owner. They landed a few high-profile clients initially, riding on connections we'd built together. But 6 months in, the cracks showed. Complaints about disorganization. Events that looked beautiful in photos but ran chaotically behind the scenes. Lauren knew how to sell a vision but not how to execute it. Daniel knew how to charm but not how to manage. They were all style, no substance, and Chicago's elite wedding circuit was noticing. Meanwhile, I was changing. My soft edges hardened. I learned to speak less and observe more. To dress not just elegantly but strategically. To make people feel special while giving away nothing of myself. After 18 months at Platinum Veil, I launched my own boutique firm, S. Bennett Events. Minimal, sophisticated, exclusive. I took only 3 clients at a time, charging triple what others did. My specialty became salvaging troubled wedding plans, the ones other planners had botched. My reputation grew quietly among a certain circle. Old money families, CEOs, people who valued discretion and perfection above all. I never advertised. Never posted on social media. Clients came through whispered recommendations only. Then one Tuesday morning, an email arrived. To contact@spinettevents.com from assistant@pierceweddings.com subject. Urgent planning request, high-profile wedding. Ms. Bennett. You've been highly recommended by the Ashford family for your exceptional work. We're seeking a planner for a significant Chicago wedding this fall. Approximate 300 guests. The principals are well known in the Chicago social scene and require the utmost discretion and luxury execution. The event must make a statement. Budget is substantial for the right planner. Please advise your availability for an initial consultation. Regards, Emma Reeves, Executive Assistant, Pierce Weddings. I read it 3 times, a smile slowly spreading across my face. They didn't know. They had no idea who S. Bennett was. I replied with my standard inquiry form and consultation fee structure. When the completed form returned, I finally saw the names. Bride. Lauren Pierce. Groom. Daniel Brooks. My hands didn't shake as I typed my response. I'd be delighted to discuss this event. I'm actually planning to be in Chicago next week. Shall we say Thursday, 2 p.m.? I chose the Drake Hotel for our meeting. Neutral territory with enough public visibility to keep everyone on their best behavior. I arrived 30 minutes early, selecting a corner table in the palm court that gave me a clear view of the entrance. At exactly 2 o'clock, they walked in. Lauren first, still commanding attention in a white pantsuit, her blonde hair longer than I remembered. Daniel followed, looking somehow both successful and tired in his tailored suit. I stood, extending my hand with a professional smile. "Ms. Pierce, Mr. Brooks. I'm Sarah Bennett." The recognition hit in waves. First confusion, then shock, then, most satisfyingly, fear, quickly masked by Lauren's social training. "Sarah," she managed, her voice higher than normal. "What a surprise." Daniel looked like he might be sick. "You're S. Bennett Events." "I am," I replied calmly, gesturing to the seats. "Shall we discuss your wedding?" What followed was a masterclass in professional discomfort. I took notes, asked detailed questions about their vision, preferences, and expectations, all while maintaining the pleasant detachment of someone who had never met them before. "Why did you reach out to me specifically?" I asked, knowing the answer but wanting to hear them say it. Lauren shifted in her seat. "The Ashfords spoke highly of you. Said you saved their daughter's wedding after a planning disaster. And you're experiencing planning challenges yourselves." Daniel cleared his throat. "We've had some staffing issues at Pierce Weddings. We need someone who can execute at the highest level." Translation: their business was failing. This wedding was their last chance to impress potential investors and clients. "I see," I said, making another note. "My fee structure is non-negotiable, and I require a 50% non-refundable deposit to begin work." I slid across a contract with a number that made Daniel's eyebrows rise. "That's steep," he began. "It's the industry standard for salvage operations," I replied smoothly. "Which is essentially what this is, given the timeline." Lauren's jaw tightened at the implied criticism. "We can afford it." "Excellent. Then let's discuss your vision." Over the next hour, I guided them through a conversation that subtly steered them toward choices that mirrored what would have been my own wedding. The color palette I'd once dreamed of. The flowers Daniel had once said reminded him of when we first met. The signature cocktail that had been our drink. Neither of them seemed to notice the parallels. They were too busy trying to appear comfortable in my presence. As we wrapped up, Lauren attempted to reassert control. "We'll need to approve everything, of course. I have very specific ideas about how this should look." "Of course," I agreed pleasantly. "Though I should mention that my contract includes full creative control. It's how I ensure the quality my clients expect." Before she could protest, I added, "The Ashfords insisted on several changes to my original design. Their daughter's wedding was adequate as a result." The implication hung in the air. "Challenge me, and I'll give you adequate. Trust me, and I'll give you extraordinary." Lauren forced a smile. "We trust your vision." As they signed the contract and transferred the deposit, I noticed something else. Tension between them. The way Lauren spoke over Daniel. The way his smile didn't reach his eyes when he looked at her. Interesting. Over the next 6 months, I orchestrated not just a wedding but an elaborate revenge. Every meeting, every decision, every detail was designed to remind them, subtly, almost subliminally, of what they'd done. I selected the same venue where Daniel had first told me he loved me. Chose a cake flavor identical to the one we'd picked for our wedding. Suggested a first dance song that had been our song. If they noticed these echoes, they never mentioned them. They were too preoccupied with their crumbling business and relationship. Meanwhile, I was laying groundwork elsewhere. I befriended the investors Lauren was desperately courting to save Pierce Weddings. Over lunches and charity events, I shared my concerns about their management style and financial practices. "Such a shame," I'd say with practiced regret. "They have potential, but the execution is inconsistent." 2 months before the wedding, I discovered through these connections that Pierce Weddings was on the verge of bankruptcy. Lauren and Daniel had leveraged everything for this final spectacle, their comeback wedding, as Chicago society was calling it. Perfect. The final piece fell into place when I visited Daniel's family jeweler, ostensibly to discuss wedding bands. The elderly craftsman recognized me immediately. "Ms. Bennett. It's been years. Such a shame what happened with you and Daniel." "Ancient history," I assured him with a warm smile. I'm actually planning his wedding to Lauren now. His confusion was evident. But the ring? He said he was going to propose to you with his grandmother's ring. When he brought it back, he said you didn't want it anymore. I kept my expression neutral despite the knife twisting in my heart. Did he say what happened to it? He had me resize it recently. For Ms. Pierce, I assume. The same ring he'd promised was a family heirloom meant only for me. The one he'd taken back after I left it on his dresser that night. How lovely, I said. Traditions are so important. The wedding day arrived. A perfect October Saturday at the Peninsula, Chicago. Everything was flawless. The flowers, the lighting, the place settings for 300 of the city's most influential people. I wore black, of course. Professional, elegant, invisible except when needed. Lauren was sequestered in the bridal suite with her bridesmaids, none of whom I recognized from our old circle. I entered with her dress, a custom gown I'd helped design with subtle details that echoed the one I'd once chosen for myself. 15 minutes, I announced to the room. Then to Lauren alone. May I have a moment with the bride? When the room cleared, she turned to me, already half into her champagne. What is it? Is something wrong? Not at all, I assured her. I just wanted to give you this before the ceremony. I handed her a small velvet box. Her brow furrowed. What's this? Open it. Inside was a delicate bracelet with a single charm, a tiny silver key. It's beautiful, but I don't understand. It's a key to your new office, I said quietly. At S. Bennett Events. Her confusion deepened. What are you talking about? As of 9 o'clock this morning, I acquired controlling interest in Pierce Weddings. Your investors were quite eager to sell once they reviewed the books. The color drained from her face. You can't. I already have. The paperwork was finalized yesterday. I'm keeping you on, of course. Your client relationships are valuable. But the company will be folded into S. Bennett Events effective immediately. She stared at me, champagne forgotten. Why are you doing this? I smiled, the first genuine expression I'd shown her in 2 years. Because you were right, Lauren. I was too soft. You and Daniel taught me how to be harder. How to take what I want. I'll fight this, she hissed. Daniel and I will. Daniel already knows, I cut in. I told him last night. He seemed relieved, actually. The doubt that flashed across her face told me everything. Their relationship had been fracturing for months. I'd seen the signs, even if they tried to hide them. It's time, I said, glancing at my watch. Your guests are waiting. I left her standing there, staring at the bracelet, and took my position at the back of the ballroom. The music began. The procession started. Lauren appeared at the doors, a vision in white, her smile fixed and brittle. As she reached the altar where Daniel waited, I stepped forward. Before we begin, I announced to the assembled guests, the bride and groom have asked me to share something special. Neither had asked any such thing, but their frozen expressions were priceless. Today isn't just a celebration of love, but of new beginnings. I'm pleased to announce that Pierce Weddings will be joining the S. Bennett Events family, creating Chicago's premier luxury event firm. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The business elite in attendance immediately understood the significance, and the power shift it represented. And to commemorate this union, I continued, approaching Lauren with another small box. A gift. She took it with trembling fingers. Inside was a ring, her engagement ring. The one that had once been mine. I believe this belongs with someone more deserving, I said, loud enough for only the first row to hear. Daniel thought so too, didn't you? His face went ashen as Lauren's eyes snapped to his. What is she talking about? She demanded. It's his grandmother's ring, I explained helpfully. The one he gave me first. Apparently, family heirlooms are recyclable. The officiant cleared his throat awkwardly. Should we proceed? Lauren looked from the ring to Daniel, then to me, realization dawning in her eyes. Not just about the ring but about everything, the venue, the flowers, the song choices. All the echoes I'd woven into her perfect day. "You planned this," she whispered. "All of it." Smiled. "I'm a wedding planner, Lauren. Planning is what I do best." Then I stepped back, clipboard in hand, the consummate professional. "Please continue. Everything is exactly as it should be." I didn't stay for the reception. There was no need. My work was done, and the aftermath would unfold without me. Later I heard they went through with the ceremony. Too much money and pride at stake to do otherwise. But the marriage lasted less than 6 months. The company transition was announced in the Tribune business section a week later, with no mention of the drama behind it. I kept Lauren on staff for exactly 3 months, long enough to transition her clients, not long enough for her to cause damage. Daniel disappeared from Chicago's social scene entirely. Last I heard, he moved to Seattle. As for me, Bennett Events became the name whispered among the elite when they needed the impossible made reality. I expanded to New York, Los Angeles, London. Built the empire Lauren and I had once dreamed about, but on my terms. I never spoke publicly about what happened. Never gloated or explained. The people who mattered knew the story. The rest didn't need to. Revenge wasn't loud. It was precise. It wasn't about destroying them, but about reclaiming what was mine. My power, my future, my narrative. On quiet nights, I sometimes think about that girl I used to be. The one who cried at rom-coms and kept friendship bracelets. She's still there somewhere. But now she knows better than to give away her power with her trust. Sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting, "I told you so." It's walking back into the room as everything they built without you falls apart. And smiling as you rebuild it better. The most satisfying part wasn't watching them crumble. It was knowing that every time Lauren sees a wedding announcement in the society pages with my company's name attached, she remembers. Every time Daniel hears about another Bennett Events expansion, he wonders what else he lost when he betrayed me. They thought they were writing my ending. Instead I wrote theirs. And mine. Mine is still unfolding, page by beautiful page. Hello, my beautiful souls. Betrayal cuts deep, but silence gives you power. Sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting, "I told you so." It's walking back into the room as everything they built without you falls apart. Tell me, have you ever watched someone underestimate you, only to realize too late what you've become? Have you felt that quiet satisfaction when they finally see the strength they never thought you had? If this story resonated in that hollow space where your trust was once broken, share it with someone who knows the pain of being replaced, and the power of rising again. Remember, your story isn't over when they betray you. It's just beginning. Until our next chapter of Boundless Revenge, remember, the most elegant vengeance isn't served cold, it's served with a smile in a room you now own. Subscribe for more stories where pain finds purpose, betrayal becomes power, and every heartbreak has its reckoning.